TUMSA is mourning with the cultural industry, the people of Mzansi, on the passing of one of the musical giants, Jonas Gwangwa. We were speaking to him earlier, Gabi le Roux. Mr. le Roux, thank you for joining us once again. I think if we pick up again, we were talking about Gwangwa's influence, huge influence on young musicians coming up through the ranks.
Well, thank you very much for having us. And sorry about the bad signal earlier. Definitely, what I was about to say when we got cut off. You're talking about young musicians, and yes, it's easy to look into an icon's history, but specifically from TUMSA's side, we would like not to see this as just another high-profile funeral, because there's been so many of those, and not just for musicians and icons, but we need to respect people and pay attention to their life work while they are still alive. That is so important, and I would like to urge young musicians, specifically composers, whilst our revolution is still underway and we're building a new nation and we're trying to have a plight for the workers, people like Jonas Gwangwa stands like a shining light for urging us, and in a gentle way. He was an activist, but he was never a man of loudness and many words. He was really a gentle giant, but his music spoke for him. And young musicians should take up that mantle and move forward with the campaigns that were driven by the likes of Madiba and so many other activists, to get our people to the place where we all can truly feel we're one nation, where everybody has hope and has a future.
Yeah.
And that, for me, is what stands out about Jonas Gwangwa. With his gentle nature, but his strong resolve, and he used his art to plant those seeds, not only in South Africa, but all over the world where he moved. And for that, we will remember him.
Do you agree with the epithets? He's been called an icon, a paragon by the presidency, really a giant amongst giants. Some saying that this represents, in a sense, the passing of that era.
Yes, absolutely. Look, others may have received more publicity in their time, etc. But he was absolutely an icon in his own right. And for the ANC during the from 1980 to I think 1990, he led Amandla, which was the cultural voice really of the ANC. And in those years, it was just before the ANC was unbanned. So it was a critical time for people like him to not only spread the political message, but to get into the hearts and minds of just normal people who may not have been ANC members or whatever, but who understand the necessity for freedom to come to our people. So absolute giant. I have to agree with our president.
Do you think he was recognized whilst being alive? Well, he was. We've got images of a birthday party a couple of years ago. But did people really celebrate his legacy while he was alive?
I don't think that he was celebrated to the extent which he deserved, and it's the same story with many others. Brother Ray Phiri. Ray Phiri had such a broad body of work, but it took an American to put him on the map. And in his later years, Brother Ray Phiri would be looking for a gig. The same with Brayuma Sekela and so many others, and others who were maybe not such great performers, Uncle Johnny, and there were so many of them where I really believe that, particularly also from our leaders, and I want to appeal to our minister as well for sports, arts and culture, to try and steer us strategically in a way where we can look at these icons and make use of their legacy whilst they're still alive, where they can speak to young composers and creators and pass that flame onto them. Where the new I don't want to sound like my parents sounded when I was young, but there's so much contemporary music which has very, very little meaning, and the themes are so similar and so empty and so superficial, where we really need some of the composers to embrace a social awareness and embrace the type of messages that's got a longer legacy and that can really make an impact on society around them, other than just talking about, bling and jewels and cars and girls and champagne. I mean, that's fine. There also needs to just be entertainment. But I want to urge young musicians, as I said, to look at people like Uncle Jonas, and take a leaf out of his book and see what it is that he left behind, because it truly lives on.
Well, it's interesting. You are pointing out his activism, like many, saying he didn't just do art for art's sake. He didn't just entertain, but he was crucial in the anti-apartheid struggle. In the later years, after South Africa became a democracy, do you think he then thought that music was for entertainment? As far as you know, was he still talking about where we should be as a country, thinking about that?
I think to some extent, look, I'm going to refer to a specific encounter that I had with him. It's probably about 19 years ago or so, and circumstances gave me the opportunity to sit with Uncle Jonah. They gave us a little bit of private time, just the two of us, and we were in a room somewhere in Rosebank, and there was a beautiful grand piano in the room, and the two of us sat together on this big piano chair, and we were just jamming, and in between we would talk. And I truly got the impression that he was so positive at that time that the revolution had prevailed, and that the activism part of what he was trying to do, to some extent, perhaps had the necessary impact. And I feel so sorry for people like himself, because I didn't have much contact with him now for a while, but if you look at where the path has gone from the activism that he stood for and where we are now, we're really not where we need to be. And for that reason, I do feel some level of sadness that he must have been terribly disappointed, having such high hopes, such as many of us had early on for the Rainbow Nation, and now to still be lacking in so many aspects, and particularly in terms of just people's attitude towards true liberation and emancipation, not only political but economic, and for the ordinary people in the street just to have a better life. And I'm sure he must have been incredibly disappointed, because what I got from him then was, well, kind of the job is now done, and we all kind of thought that, and not true. And Uncle Jonas, rest in peace, Elder, and I give you my word, from TUMSA's side, we want to play a role in reigniting that level of activism, to get into the hearts and minds of people and let them know, not force it on them and not ram it down their throats, but appeal to them through the arts and through beautiful music and the type of melodies that Uncle Jonas could turn out to get to people and make them think twice about the society that we live in.
All right, thank you very much for your remembrances and looking at his significance. And very interesting that you say, Gabi le Roux, you'd love the Arts and Culture Minister to talk about harnessing the legacy of Jonas Gwangwa to inspire young people and encourage them to fight for right as well. And in fact, we will be speaking to Minister Nathi Mthethwa as soon as we can get him up on the line. That was Gabi le Roux from the Trade Union for Musicians of South Africa.